What's up, YouTube? It's time for a review of the brand new Atreyu album, Long Live, out this past Friday, September 18th. A day that was honestly ridiculous for music releases. We have the new Mac Miller album, which I'll add a link in the description for my blog review of that album. We have Metric, a great alternative band, put out another great album. Then, of course, we have Black Dahlia Murder, Metal Allegiance, the supergroup featuring Alex Skolnick, Mike Portnoy, and a bunch of other great guests. A ton of great music. Shinedown's another one. It was like Christmas. But today we'll be talking Atreyu, a band that, just like Disturbed, is making a well-timed comeback after a hiatus in which their fans very much miss them. Atreyu is a band that's always been very difficult to categorize, because they very much came out of that West Coast hardcore/metalcore scene with bands like 18 Visions, Avenged Sevenfold, basically anybody who would have played Chain Reaction. Yet despite the fact that they come from that scene, the influences in their music are just so eclectic. You have clear influences of classic metal, of thrash metal, and then you have the emo influences, which makes Atreyu in the mid-2000s as palatable to an AFI and a My Chemical Romance fan as it may have been to an Avenged Sevenfold, a Trivium fan, a Bullet for My Valentine kind of fan, and they were able to very much tour with both bands, both types of bands, the Warped Tour crowd as well as more of a metal crowd. Me personally, I got into the band after the release of their fourth album, Lead Sails Paper Anchor, in 2007, which is an extremely divisive album for their fans. After 3 albums straight of basically emo-influenced metalcore, all of a sudden they make an album for active rock radio. You have a song like Falling Down, which is essentially a pop song. Then you have a song like Becoming the Bull, which got a lot of airplay. You have the title track, which is essentially a ballad. So a lot of people really hated on that album. It's kind of an instance like Avenged Sevenfold with City of Evil, where they lost a lot of core fans and probably gained new ones with their new, more mainstream appeal. I love the album. I think there's some really stellar riffs on there. I think the songs are well constructed. So the change of style doesn't bother me. But the band's shining moments in their catalog are definitely the first 3 albums, where they're playing a style that really had its own lane. You have a hardcore influence, a little bit of a punk influence, yet you have a classic metal influence, and within that, it all fits into metalcore, which is the main movement of American bands in the 2000s. And then with their 5th album, Congregation of the Damned, in 2009, they made a really stellar record that combined the best pieces of some of the more radio-friendly elements of Lead Sails with some older elements from The Curse, from Suicide Notes, and from Death Grip. And to me, at the time, it was the band's best release ever. Looking back, I probably rank that second to The Curse, their sophomore album, which is very much the band's opus. But needless to say, I was bummed when they announced their hiatus a year or 2 after that album came out, when to me, they were at their peak. So fast forward to last year or so, the band announces the end of their hiatus, a brand new comeback album, a reinvigorated passion for making music for the fans, and of course, a promise to get back to their core sound, because I think they were very aware of who they let down with Lead Sails and, to a lesser extent, Congregation of the Damned. So in anticipation for this album, we essentially got 4 singles. First, we got So Others May Live, which is essentially just a statement. Look, we're back. We sound like ourselves again. You should all be hyped for this album. That song didn't even end up on Long Live. It's essentially just a welcome back kind of opportunity for the fans, a widely praised song, really just to build momentum, build anticipation towards this big comeback. Then closer to the album's release, we got Long Live, the title track, we got Do You Know Who You Are, and we got Start to Break. What's funny going right into this album is the not so subtle symbolism on the cover and in the lyrics of Long Live, which is also the opening track. You look on the cover and it's open coffins that are empty. And not so subtle. Again, really this album, before I even heard it, immediately presented itself as a thinly veiled attempt at finding the best moments in Atreyu's catalog and recreating them and adding a little extra something. And as a fan, there's nothing wrong with that to me. If anything, it's exciting. I hadn't really listened to Atreyu in a couple of years, and listening to The Curse in anticipation for hearing Long Live reminded me exactly why fans would be amped about a return to their roots. Because that album really is lightning in a bottle. If you are watching this review and you haven't heard that, I would highly recommend listening to The Curse, just for a little context for Long Live. Anyway, did Atreyu succeed in their mission? Let's start right out with the opening and title track, Long Live, a song that starts immediately with a thrash-influenced riff that would make Slayer proud, some pounding double bass. After some heavy verses, it transitions into a hugely catchy chorus. We get gang vocals, we get breakdowns, we get hummable, memorable solos, and then we get one big China breakdown to end the song. Wow, Atreyu's back. That's kind of how that feels when that first song hits you on this album. Long Live is just a stellar opening to this album, and it sets a very, very high standard, which luckily is met by the band more often than not on the rest of this album. You have a song like Start to Break, which to me is the best song on the entire project. Explosive energy, another amazing chorus, heavy verses. Of course, Alex is back screaming again, which is something that will be made a lot of in the press. To me, it doesn't really matter if he's screaming or he's singing as long as the songs are good, but the heaviness of these tracks definitely encourage and are suited better by really aggressive vocals, and we get possibly his most aggressive performance to date on an Atreyu album. But Start to Break, again, explosive energy and a really cool In Flames influence acoustic break that lets that final chorus really pop off. Two more fantastic album highlights are tracks 3 and 4. I Would Kill, I Die For You, and Cut Off the Head, which are two songs that are really well sequenced because lyrically they have a really sharp contrast to one another. The former, I Would Kill, I Die For You, is a very touching song about lead singer Alex's experiences being a new father, whereas Cut Off the Head does a complete 180 and is a primal expression of rage against the lowest people in society, which in an interview he talked about like pedophiles and murderers, those kind of people. So they contrast each other really nicely. Musically, I Would Kill, I Die For You is definitely groove metal influenced. It has a really cool harmonic minor dual guitar solo, and the chorus is a little more melodramatic and melancholic as opposed to upbeat and aggressive choruses like Long Live, like Start to Break, and like track 2, Live to Labor, which precedes it. So it provides a nice dynamic element for Brandon Sauer to slow down the chorus and express what's a pretty raw and touching emotional subject. Cut Off the Head, meanwhile, makes this commitment to heaviness that it fulfills very nicely. Like I mentioned earlier, Alex's rage-fueled vocal performance is just captivating. The groove here really reminds me of the Fear Factory song What Will Become, that kind of stomping, simple groove. We get another traditional hardcore style breakdown on this song, which honestly is an element that's all over this album, definitely on purpose. We also get the groove switching of hardcore in the sense that the second verse of Cut Off the Head, Brandon Sauer switches up the groove. It's something that keeps the music more exciting, more interesting, and more importantly, makes it tailor fit for the live environment, which is something that the hardcore scene that Atreyu comes from is known for. Heartbeats and Flatlines is another standout, with the lead guitar intro that for fans of The Curse is very much Bleeding Mascara Part 2. And the first verse of this song here, we have a really well-constructed two-guitar rhythm arrangement in which Travis Miguel and Dan Jacobs play off each other really nicely. We then transition into an In Flames influenced pre-chorus. We also get, you guessed it, gang vocals, breakdowns, and a really nice clean guitar bridge in which the band is able to pull back the energy a little bit before an explosive solo section and final chorus. The second track, Live to Labor, also has some punk influences, as well as influences from the band's first album, Suicide Notes and Butterfly Kisses, and it also takes home the bronze for outstanding choruses, another real driving chorus from Brandon Sauer. And then we get the super heavy closer, Reckless, which it starts out with pianos and some whoa whoa chants, and I got my cheesy radar going, but it actually is a crushing, super heavy ending to the record. Really, on all of Long Live, to me there's only one miss, which is the song Do You Know Who You Are, which was also released earlier as a single. It's not necessarily a ballad, but it's definitely just there for the sole purpose of adding a dynamic, slower element to the album, which to me isn't really needed. You have the really beautiful interlude Revival, and you have some really nice tempo changes, different subject matter like I mentioned earlier. This song doesn't need to be here. To me, it feels like that song that a band plays halfway through their set so everyone can go get drinks, get a break from the mosh pit. To me, just the catchiness of the chorus isn't there. I can see what they were trying, and if people are into this song, I understand. But to me, it has no place on this record. It doesn't really need to be here. But overall, my hypothesis about the band cherry-picking great moments from their catalog was more true than I even imagined. You have songs like the aforementioned Heartbeats and Flatlines, which is Bleeding Mascara Part 2 in the intro. You have the song Brass Balls, which is an attempt at recreating Blow from Lead Sails and Paper Anchor, which is a song that was really different, and I'm glad they included an attempt to kind of revisit that 80s throwback style. It doesn't work to me as well as Blow, but it's definitely a solid track. And as I've continually emphasized, breakdowns galore, the hardcore influence, a little bit of the punk influence is all really there, really present, just like it was on earlier Atreyu albums. Honestly, this album hugely exceeded my expectations. Not only did they succeed in their task of recreating some classic moments from their earlier albums, but even better, they created new classic moments. Songs like the title track Long Live, like Start to Break, like Live to Labor, like Cut Off the Head is some of the best music Atreyu has made in over 10 years. To me, Long Live is the best album since The Curse, and actually the best production on an Atreyu album to date. Long Live is a beautiful mix of a band with seasoned abilities and chemistry sounding hungry again. If you've liked Atreyu in any era of the band's history, you have to pick up Long Live immediately. It's Atreyu on steroids. Most importantly, they've beaten Disturbed in the hiatus return battle of 2015. They've made a real statement with Long Live. Personally, I'm really excited to see the band next month in Boston. Definitely check out those tour dates. See if you can go if you're a fan of the band, because you're going to want to hear these songs live. But thanks for watching. Click here to subscribe. And most importantly, let me know in the comments if you agree with me. Maybe to some people this album sucked. Maybe it wasn't what you were expecting. Just let me know, and I hope to see you guys soon.